got us on the air. All right, let me get to this. So I posted a couple things regarding Gruden, right? And it was more of a curiosity thing. So what happens to the people that replied to Gruden? Right, they're mocked, they're enabling him, they're laughing at what he wrote. How culpable are they? And again, if you really break this down, right, I think there's going to be these two schools of thought. People are going to say, well, come on, this was what, a decade ago. It doesn't matter, folks. Your thinking is your thinking. Like, I cannot condone that kind of nonsense. I can't. I just can't. And I think a lot of people accept it. I don't. I really don't. But that's me. That's my opinion. And I think Gruden basically took the coward's way out because he knew he was screwed and he knew what he did, what he said, what he wrote was wrong. Jerry on Facebook chimes in. Rich, enjoying the show. I don't know too much about it. I just read some of the headlines of what was briefly said on ESPN. The right decision was for him to resign or be fired. But should he be banned from any more coaching opportunities and hosting any job as a sports analyst? Well, look, my retort to that was, what about ESPN? Right, they employed him. So what will happen is more emails are going to come out. Then you start to question the timing of this. The league's going to start to look into Washington again. Jerry on Twitter, not surprised. We've been naive to think that a lot of owners, coaches, and GMs don't talk and think that way. Sad, but true. Chris chimes in. That's why they're called owners. They run the league, Rich. Let's not forget about this. Eddie chimes in. Sad that this nonsense still goes on in today's world. If you have opinions, keep them to yourself. Respect everyone and their feelings. Gruden should know better, and the fact that he would even do this in email says a lot. Was he that arrogant enough that his ignorance wouldn't get out there? Okay, so here's what I would say with this. Where I would disagree, I think, is if you have opinions, keep them to yourself, right? The issue is, this is how he thinks. He got exposed. He was dumb enough to put it in writing. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, but this is not I think this goes beyond the scope of opinions, right? When you have someone that actually really thinks like this, first of all, he's a used oil salesman. Now he's got to deal with the blowback. I don't believe he's ever going to get a coaching job in the NFL again, nor does he deserve one. He chimes in, he doesn't deserve one. Arrogance is huge in sports, in my opinion. It seems in a lot of cases they are the exception to the rule. I'm not saying all the time, but these are the players that do it. The Mannings, Derek Jeter. Then there are those like Josh Gordon who have gotten numerous chances. I believe more heads should fall, so to speak. My guess is Gruden isn't the only one that's guilty. Yeah, I don't believe that. Raymond chimes in. He's actually scum, plain and simple. No big explanation needed. Just a scumbag. P.S. Loving the show. Listening online. Kevin chimes in. This is a long one. I think we're going to find out that there's a lot more than what we've been told. So far, he's made fun of DeMaurice's Smith's facial features. Didn't like the league pressure to draft Michael Sam. Wanted the league to crack down on national anthem protests. But honestly, did he really say anything particularly bad? I've certainly referred to Roger Goodell as worse things. Sam stunk at the NFL, and the league shouldn't have been so political. I'm sure it's going to get much worse. Enjoying the show. Yeah, see, I mean, you kind of sound like a jackass to me, Kevin. I appreciate the kind words, but come on, man. I mean, come on. The problem is that, and this is not woke or canceled. Listen, I've watched shows and movies in the 70s and the 80s that you can't get away with today because everyone, it is a uberly sensitive society. I think we all can agree with that. It's uberly sensitive. But there's a difference being sensitive and being justified in your sensitivity or just being sensitive to be sensitive. Like I remember years ago, I think I walked in either Walmart or Target and I said, "Oh, Merry Christmas." And they looked at me like I had four heads because now it's Happy Holidays. All right, whatever. I don't care. That doesn't, I mean, I laugh at it. I'm like, oh, my God. But I'm not going to walk in there and say something anti-Semitic. And I'm not going to listen to someone have those types of thoughts. So there's a difference, like I said, you know, the woke, the cancel, however you guys want to slice and dice it. This is how he thinks. He was dumb enough to put it in an email. Now, me, I'm not the type of person that's going to rat somebody out. I'm not. We're doing a mission. I get captured. I'm not going to give you whereabouts. You can torture me. I'm not going to give you whereabouts. I'm not going to roll over. But if I see something that's disturbing in the form of an email, I might address it and say, yo, I don't want any part of this. That's not where I come from. I don't want to deal with this. Because I've dealt with this. I dealt with this when I worked for other radio stations. I've had people email in the most vile stuff to me at the time. You know what I did? I just kept it in a folder and I went about my business. Use it as motivation. That's how they really think. This is how Gruden really thinks. This is how this man thinks. And I'm telling you, Al Davis would be rolling around in his grave right now. All right, 11 after 5, as we do every Tuesday, we welcome in our good friend Lloyd Vance. He's been covering the NFL for well over 20 years, and I know he has some thoughts on Gruden as we take a look at Week 5 in Vance's view and a sneak peek at Week 6. How are you, Lloyd?
Doing good, Killian, but crazy times around the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, listen, what was your first reaction to the Gruden news? I mean, does it shock, surprise you at all? Or, well, you know what? We kind of laughed years ago he wasn't going to coach the life of his contract, and here you go. It's a bad look all around.
Yeah, Q, it's shocking to me. And he and I actually were part of the Black College Football Hall of Fame together, and he was our MC our first couple of years that we had the event. So I've met Gruden, and this is something, you know, you think it's out of character, but like I heard you saying before I came on, you really don't know anybody and what they're thinking. But it was all right there in the email, you know, and it's just not a good look for him, and the Raiders did the right thing stepping away from him.
Well, look, I mean, you're right. I mean, you just knew eventually they were going to come down with a decision, and more heads are going to roll. And I just wonder how many NFL personnel, right, were turning around last night, scrubbing through emails and trying to delete them, which, oh, by the way, breaking news, it doesn't matter. Once it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah, and you know the NFL, they're going to close ranks, and this is $1 billion business, and they want to keep it going and keep fans from all types of backgrounds and keep everybody happy, but there are just some descending personalities in there, you know, whether it was the kneeling or something in the past, it all comes out around, and this is just unfortunate, and the league has to address this. You know, they can't sweep this under the rug.
You're saying the league has to address it. I agree, but don't you also think Davis and Mayock have to come out and kind of show that unified front for the players and the support and to have that front of, you know, we don't tolerate that kind of stuff here? Don't you think they need to speak too?
I agree. And the organization, you know, they put out their memo and everything, but they have to live it. And we know that NFL is about 70% African American, so there are people in the locker room looking to see where this organization is going to go next, because they have a lot of work to do, a lot of damage control. You and I kind of remember I covered that whole Riley Cooper situation with the Eagles, and sure, the team finished 10-6, but a lot of players and people in the organization did not get over the way Chip Kelly handled that, and, you know, it just left a stain around the organization.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, you can't leave it to the players and the interim coach tomorrow, right? You just can't. I mean, the fans of players, they have to sit there and say, all right, where's this leadership coming from? Because anytime there's a crisis, right, I always say this, and I say it in tongue-in-cheek, but I firmly believe this. In life, there are those that run towards the fire, and there are those that run away from the fire. So if you're Mark Davis or Mike Mayock, are you going to run towards the fire or are you going to run away from the fire? So it'll be telling to see what transpires tomorrow.
It will. And let's not forget we're in the middle of the season, so I know it's kind of on the back burner. But this team was 3-0. They lost 2 straight, and they looked in disarray before this even happened. So a lot of work to do there, and you just hope they can make it through the season. But I think it may get uglier.
All right, let's look at some of these games on the field for a couple moments. So, the NFL season, right? Boom, 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 boom. It starts with Seattle losing to the Rams. I love the Rams in that spot. Thursday Night Football. The Falcons and the Jets, somewhat of an ugly game in London. And then you have the Green Bay and the Cincinnati game. I actually did a double take, and I think I know I tweeted it, but I don't know if I heard it clearly. There were 5 missed kicks, field goals, in the last 8 minutes of that game. Or maybe it was 8 in the last 5. I don't even know at this point, but oh my God. What a horrible weekend for the kickers. And then Crosby finally nails the 49-yarder after 3 misses. That's a big win for Green Bay, and I thought it could have been a signature win for Cincinnati.
Yeah, kickers are a necessary evil. These guys can make the big kick, and they got one job to do, but they also miss sometimes. And you could see that Green Bay was definitely, had a lot of anxiety going to that last kick. And surprisingly, the kid from Cincinnati, he had done a great job all season up to this point. So it was a very tough time for kickers this weekend, and hopefully they can pick it up. But, it was crazy. There were a lot of missed kicks in that game.
I wanted to, reach through the TV and give Lions fans a hug, right? 0-5, they play hard. And the irony is that if you're a Vikings fan, you've seen enough of your game-deciding kicks over the last, 6, 7, 8 years. It finally goes in their favor. Wow, the Vikings escaped the Lions 19-17. The Lions cover. I actually thought it was crazy. They take the lead. Actually, when they're losing, when they're down late, they're plus 9,500 to win the game. Then they take the lead, and you think to yourself, all right, the game is over. But this is the NFL, man. All you have to do is basically give a team a little bit of time, and they took advantage of it. They get the late field goal by Joseph. They beat the Lions 19-17, and then you saw Campbell afterwards kind of holding back tears after another disheartening loss.
Yeah, that was a crazy game because I thought it was all over for all intents and purposes. And then Madison had that bad fumble deep in his own section, and then the Lions took advantage of it. They scored a touchdown and get the 2 to put the pressure on. But, it was a great thing for Kirk Cousins. He was able to kick the ball out down the field. He hit Thielen for those 2 long throws. And then the kicker, Joseph, redeems himself by hitting a 50-some-yard field goal to win the game. So, Minnesota, their team, scratching and trying to make it to the next level. But right now, it was a good win for them.
Yeah, they get that second time out with 27 seconds to go. That's after, as you mentioned, Cousins hitting Thielen for 21. Then he hits Westbrook for 6. Another timeout. Then he hits Thielen for 19. Spikes the ball, and boom. 54-yarder there. So Detroit, along with Jacksonville, are winless right now, both at 0-5. Rich Quinones here, 5:20 on a Tuesday. Lloyd Vance joining us as always. Vance's View. We're taking a look at some of these crazy Week 5 games. We'll start to sneak peek into Week 6 as well. All right, I have to get to the mess that is my New York Football Giants. I don't even remember a game where the quarterback goes down, the wide receiver goes down, the running back goes down, the tackle didn't play, the guard didn't play, Peppers was, unavailable. I mean, it's just, it's another bona fide disaster, and it pains me to say this. I never liked the Saquon Barkley pick. I just didn't because I felt you don't need to draft a running back that high. Is this kid talented? Yes. And this is probably not going to sit well with some people. But right now, he is a bust because he's never available, and he gets hurt all the time. And it's unfortunate to say, but man, that was just a bad pick by the Giants. They did not need a running back at the time. That was a luxury pick.
Yeah, and this is not the early 1980s or so where the running back was key and you built your team around it. And, I asked on Saquon Barkley, they made that huge pick in top 5, and he just hasn't lived up to it. The injuries just one after the other. That ankle injury looked bad. They're saying it's not broken and they may be able to come back, but, it just seems one thing after another. You lose Galladay, you lose Daniel Jones in a game, and then Mike Glennon's out there trying to survive. So, it's going to be a long year for the Giants. And we talked about it in our preview show. Joe Judge, who was on a hot seat when the season started, him and Gettleman are really maybe have to be looking for new jobs at the end of the season.
Yeah, and what makes it worse? Forget about even drafting Darnold, who went third to the Jets, but guess who went seventh to Buffalo? Josh Allen. So it's like, oh my God.
It just shows you, and it just shows you now. Most teams they figure out, you need that quarterback because this is a passing league, and you need that guy that can move the football down the field.
One of the most interesting stats I saw over the weekend, we go to Cleveland and the Chargers. I love the Chargers outright. They outscored the Browns, but Odell Beckham, he's almost an afterthought. If you look at his receiving yards per game, early on in his career, 190-something, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. It's like, okay, I guess you really kind of miss Eli Manning. He's almost a second, an afterthought in that offense in Cleveland.
Yeah, and that situation, guys want out and they want to go someplace for a lot of money, but you have to look at the overall situation when you go somewhere. I think of Randy Moss going to the Raiders, and he wasn't a good fit, and he wasn't happy there, and now you're seeing kind of the same thing. So, Odell's probably still going to stick around, but that game was very high scoring, not a lot of defense, 47-42, Chargers win it. And then Cleveland, who I thought had a good defense, they surrendered 493 total yards and 26 points in the fourth quarter alone. So, what a high-scoring, crazy game.
A lot of high-scoring games over the weekend. We saw Tampa put up 45. We saw the Titans put up 37. The Pats and the Texans back and forth. I had the Bears on the money line with their big win against the Raiders. I still maintain that right now, I believe the Cardinals are the most complete team in the NFC. You got Tampa, you've got the Packers, you got the Cardinals, you got the Dallas Cowboys. Who else am I missing? The Rams?
The Chargers?
No, in the NFC. In the NFC. I'm sorry, in the NFC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll ask you, who do you believe right now is the most complete team in the NFC?
Ooh, and that's a tough one. I'll have to go to defending champion Bucs. Until somebody knocks them off, I'll say they're the most complete team. But you're right, the Cardinals, they won ugly this past week. It wasn't pretty. I watched a lot of the game, winning 17-10. But Kyler Murray, you have to wonder, is that shoulder a little banged up again? But they're winning some games, but I'll go with the Bucs for now. And then the Bucs play the Eagles, so we're going to see Thursday night if they're building something.
Was Sunday night more of an indictment on the Chiefs, kind of maybe we oversold them, right? Look, you've gone to the Super Bowl multiple times in a row. You lost last year. Mahomes got beat up. And then you got this Bills team. We knew it was a rematch. I left Buffalo on the spot, took them again on the ML. That was a nice hit for myself. I didn't see them putting up 38. Or was this more about it's the Bills? Like maybe it's just the Bills' year. Or at least it's the Bills' year coming out of the AFC.
Yeah, right now it is looking like the Bills' year. And then I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, so that's looking like a pretty good pick. And Josh Allen's looking like a MVP-type quarterback, and they're even getting some kind of a running game using him, and that defense is getting after people. So right now you have to say they're the cream of the AFC, and they showed that the Chiefs have a lot of deficiencies, particularly protecting their quarterback, and their defense on their back end is just letting up way too many yards and points.
Yeah, and how about the job the offensive line of Buffalo's doing? I mean, Allen's only been sacked 5 times, and I think 2 of those came in one game, so they've been keeping him upright. He's got 12 touchdowns, 2 picks, well over 1,300 yards. He's slinging it all over the place. Completion percentage is right around 63. They can run the ball. They got some playmakers as well. They look like the team to beat right now coming out of the AFC. And then how about last night? Now, that's another game that I thought Baltimore, I loved them in that spot. Which was interesting is, again, you look at Carson Wentz, you say, all right, he didn't play too bad, but, Carson Wentz never meant a game where he wasn't inclined to give you a strip sack and a fumble. And we saw it again last night. I mean, that was a crazy, crazy game, and that was an unbelievable comeback by Baltimore. They're down 22-3 in this game, 25-9, and then they just come roaring back.
Yeah, Lamar just kept believing, and then he passed for 86%, so he's hitting some high percentage throws, particularly to Mark Andrews, his tight end, and then Hollywood Brown down the field. And the Ravens are a team, they probably stole one last night, but they're a dangerous team in AFC, and Lamar seems like he's getting more comfortable at the helm of this team, leading it. They want to see a little bit more of some kind of a running game from them and a little bit more help on the offensive line. But defensively, they're doing a good job as well. So I want to see the Ravens in another big spot. But their team right now, you have to think, can they beat? And we'll see if this week they can step up. They're playing the Chargers, so this is a big prove-it game.
Yeah, and the Colts left 6 on the board, right? They had the blocked field goal and the missed field goal late with about 30-something odd seconds to go. They fall to 1-4. Before we look at these sneak peek to Week 6, game ball for Week 5.
Yeah, my game ball had to go to Lamar. Lamar was just tremendous that game. As we were saying, down 22-3 at a certain point, he just kept going. He had 4 touchdowns and the big overtime winner, the Hollywood Browns. So you had to give it to him.
Blackie, which I think I know where you're going to go.
I'm going with Sam Darnold because that game, watching the Panthers play the Eagles, was just ugly. I could have gone with John Gruden, obviously, but I'm going to just stay away from all that. And, Darnold, they had a 15-3 lead with the Eagles. The Eagles really reeling, and then he just threw 3 interceptions, particularly that really bad one to Nelson. I don't even know where he was throwing the football. So Darnold, looking like his old Jets son, he gets the Lackey.
Unbelievable. And, I thought he was going to be comeback player of the year. I was on the Sammy train, and all of a sudden, pick, and that happens. All right, Thursday night, Tampa Bay's laying 7 against Philly. Look, I'll give Philly their nice win on the road, down 10-11. Hurts, couple rushing touchdowns in the second half. I'm sorry, man. I don't see Tampa Bay losing this game. Would they score 45 against Miami? What do you think they're going to do with the Eagles?
Yeah, the Eagles back 7, as I've been talking about. The linebackers in secondary have not been able to cover anybody. Tom Brady, for the first time, threw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns last week, and now AB is coming along looking like his old Steelers self. So the Eagles, unless they can get a pass rush, are going to be in some trouble here. I think Tampa's going to win this one and also look at the over.
Yeah, we still don't know with Goddard, right? COVID-19. Restricted list. And then the Lane Johnson situation, look, hopefully, when it's personal like this, you don't want to dig too deep. But, man, I mean, you're starting to wonder if he's going to come back at all this year for the Philadelphia Eagles because they're not giving the media or the fans anything. And rightfully so. Maybe this is just something that, it's a deep issue that he's dealing with. Nobody knows what's going on with Lane Johnson.
Yeah, nobody does, and he's been away from the team, and the team had this kind of situation before when I was covering it. Sean Andrews, same type of thing.
That's right.
You just got to wonder what's really going on in the background. I'm sure it'll come out eventually, but it must be a lot for him not to want to play.
That's a great point you bring up, Sean Andrews. I remember, he was dealing with depression, correct?
Yeah, Sean was dealing with a lot of off-field stuff, and he just kind of lost his love for the game, and he had to step away from it. And I think he tried a minor comeback, but he just was never the same after.
I totally forgot that. Yep, that's good parallels with that. All right, I'm looking at some more of these games. Miami, Jacksonville doesn't entice me. Packers and the Bears doesn't. Cincy and the line. I mean, I'm looking. Vikings and the Panthers, right? Right now, that line, Minnesota on the road, I think it's basically public perception, right? Prisoners of the moment. They get the win. Panthers have struggled a little bit. Minnesota's laying 1 on the road against Carolina.
Yeah, this is a tough one to pick, and this is almost like, all right, who's going to enter the playoff picture, maybe a wild card type of team. Carolina, another team that started out 3-0, lost 2 straight, and we talked about Darnold and the struggles against the Eagles. Kirk Cousins really hitting them at the right time. Their secondary is very beat up there for Carolina. So we'll see how Minnesota does. Maybe another close win for them, so I'll go with the Vikings there.
You mentioned that Chargers-Ravens game before when we were talking about the Ravens' big win last night against Indianapolis. Ravens are laying a field goal. I would be a little more inclined to take the Chargers if it was 3.5. Give me the hook. But you know how I feel about Justin Herbert, man. If I ever had a man crush right now in the NFL and a quarterback, it's Justin Herbert. I love what this kid's doing. They can run the football. Eckler looks the part. They can throw with Williams and they're playmakers, and he's been untouched. I just really like the Chargers, and I like them in the spot on the road.
Yeah, a lot of people are picking up on Herbert for an MVP candidate, and he's proven it. They got weapons all over the place. Derwin James making 15-plus tackles a game. But there's just something about this Ravens team, and I think they may be able to scratch out a win here. The key thing is Vizcaino, the kicker for the Chargers. He has missed a lot of key kicks for them, and they kind of overcome it throughout the season. So, I think maybe Tucker wins this one in a very close win for the Ravens.
Interesting, because trending up right now in the MVP odds, Allen, Prescott, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Herbert, right? Think about this. Look at their performances. And then trending down, Carr, Mahomes, and Russell Wilson. Right now, Josh Allen is plus 500. Brady is plus 500. Herbert is plus 650. And Murray's right there, plus 652. Now, what will happen is if Arizona loses a couple and he struggles, then all of a sudden he's going to drop to probably, I would say maybe plus... it'll probably be about 750. The odds are going to drop for him. Like, look at Mahomes. Right now, Patrick Mahomes is plus 1,400. He can have that stretch where he basically goes 6-7 games, 3-4 touchdowns a game, 300 yards, and all of a sudden, boom, his odds are going to be all over the place. So, I'm a fan of Herbert. I like what Jackson has done this year too, but I'm definitely going to lean right now with the Chargers. 405. The Cardinals 5-0 against the Browns 3-2. So again, we might have a track meet. The total number is 50.5. Cleveland's laying 2.5. Again, I look at this game and I say to myself, if Arizona is who we think they are, go on the road and beat the Cleveland Browns. A lot of people think the Browns are going to make this deep run in the playoffs, but this is a big win for Cleveland, right? I mean, they have to kind of figure out a way. All right, we want to get back on track. We had that 3-game winning streak snapped. We gave up 47, so now let's get right.
Yeah, this is a prove-it game for the Browns, and you got the Cardinals coming east, playing outdoors, and this is a chance for the Browns to make that statement that they are that playoff team that everybody's talking about. The key thing to know is Baker Mayfield and the protection around him. He has that non-throwing shoulder injury, and then the Browns, Jadeveon Clowney, his knee is kind of banged up in this one. Kyler Murray, as I said last week, they won the game ugly. But I think this may be the situation where the streak stops and the Browns pull out a victory. It's going to be a pretty good game. We'll see about the weather. Hopefully it's going to be good and it can be high scoring.
Seattle and the Steelers Sunday night. It's another game that we picked correctly. Steelers outright. I did. I thought Denver was a fraud. We don't see the Steelers lose 4 in a row under Big Ben. They're laying 4.5. I think a lot of this has to do with Seattle. I think a lot of this has to do with Seattle right now. Very uncharacteristic start to the season, 2-3. They've dropped 3 out of their last 4. They're coming off a game where, look, you look at it and say, all right, you only lost by 9 to the Rams, but they were physically dominated in that game against the Rams. I mean, Russell Wilson gets banged up. So, again, there's the issue right there. You got Geno Smith is going to be under center. That has a lot to do with it. I mean, I just think this is a bad spot for Seattle this week.
Yeah, Q, I have to agree with you. And Geno Smith playing on the road, that's not a good thing. And Seattle doesn't play on the road to begin with, usually away from their home stadium. And now you have the Steelers. Big Ben really picked it up last week. He kind of said, you know what, I'm not done yet. Able to get the ball down to Claypool and Johnson. So, I think the defense led by Watt and Hayward, they're going to get after Geno Smith. He's going to make some mistakes. And the Steelers cover that number.
Yeah, Geno Smith playing is never, ever a good thing.
Yeah, ask Jets fans.
Ask the Jet fans. I mean, I'd rather have went to Davis Webb when Eli got benched than Geno friggin' Smith. You realize Geno Smith basically ended 2 streaks, Eli's and Russell Wilson's? There's a trivia question for you.
Yeah, Geno has never lived up to expectations. I think he was a high second-round pick, and, he's just the guy. He's going to help you as a backup, but as a front-line starter, he's going to make some mistakes.
Yeah, well, I was waiting for the famous Lloyd Vance chuckle when I said that. I got a little bit of it. There it was. All right.
And don't forget his teammate punched his lights out.
I didn't say it. You did, my friend. All right, Monday night, this looks like a real good game on paper. You got the Titans and the Beast and Derrick Henry against that high-flying offense of Buffalo. This is a good game, man, and this is the respect that Buffalo is now getting from the Sharps. They're laying 5.5 on the road against the Titans.
Yeah, this is another proven game because they're going to Tennessee. Derrick Henry running the ball like nobody in the league, and 640 rushing yards, 4.5 a carry, and 7 touchdowns. They're talking about in a 17-game season, he may be able to break the single-season record of Eric Dickerson. So,
wow.
It's going to be an opportunity for Buffalo to step up and stop him. Tannehill's got to pick it up if they want Tennessee to win this game. I still think that Buffalo is just playing at a high key. Allen's got to watch himself running football, but he's spreading it all around, and I think Buffalo wins a close game here.
Yeah, Henry has, you mentioned, 640 in 5 games, so 1,310 games, 1,815 games. He can, again, rush over 2,000. What did Dickerson have?
2105.
2105. And he had, what, 2027 last year?
Yeah, so he's getting close, and they built this team around. They're an old-school football team. Vrabel likes running football. Their defense, he's trying to build that unit up as well, so it should be a fun game. And Sean McDermott, defensively, with Tremont Edmonds and the rest of those guys, those linebackers are going to get after people.
Yeah, I just pulled up. So his projections this year, wow. Carries 454 carries.
Wow.
2,048 yards, 22 touchdowns, plus he adds 400 yards receiving. I think right now he's a Hall of Fame back. But he's also at that age, 27, where when they start carrying the ball 250, 300, 350 times, there's a ton of wear and tear, man. But that's the recipe of how you win, especially in the postseason.
Yeah, he can move the chains, and he likes punishing people. And they showed that in that Seattle game, that they can come from behind even with him running the football. So, they're going to lean on him and look for some time to turnovers by Fired and the rest of these guys on defense.
All right, so we'll start at Thursday night. The Eagles in Tampa Bay. And so we got the game balls, we got the lacking, we got some good insight, as always, from our good friend Lloyd Vance. Enjoy the game starting Thursday. We are already fast approaching week 6. We'll talk next week, pal. Always appreciate you.
All right, Q. Thanks for having me on.
All right, you got it. Our guy. There you have it. Our good friend, Lloyd Vance. Quick timeout.